Warning! Do not watch on an empty stomach and make sure your fridge is well stocked. Welcome to the digital kitchen, where VR cooking manhwa turns food into an immersive game. Level up, craft legendary dishes, and explore virtual kitchens filled with flavor. Time to log in and cook. Let me introduce you to our main character. A talented chef once won an award in the Korean Master Chef contest. However, it seems fate has a way of challenging the gifted. As our protagonist faced a tragic incident. This incident turned his life 180 degrees and plunged him into an abyss. He lost his sense of taste and smell in an unfortunate accident. For a chef, this is akin to a pianist or a swordsman losing their hands. His career collapsed just like that. Initially, he believed the doctor's words, hoping that the damage was only temporary. So he persevered day by day, patiently waiting for a miracle. A miracle that would restore his sense of taste. But the miracle never happened. Well, in fact, a miracle did happen, but it happened in a completely different way. And we will follow how this miracle came to Lee Rim, our protagonist. The frustration grew larger as Rice tried to taste the food he prepared. It increasingly took over his soul, and in utter despair, he threw the food to the ground and screamed in helplessness. Nothing changed. A year had passed. And everything was still bland. That damn tastelessness. This scene is quite similar to some chef-themed movies that I had watched. He collapsed on the ground and tormented himself in despair until he eventually fell asleep. Unaware of anything, suddenly, the doorbell rang, waking him from his sleep. Dragging his body like a stray dog reeking of alcohol, he trudged to the door. A shipper had delivered a package from a company named Real. Inside the package was a virtual reality gaming device he had ordered a few days ago after seeing an ad on TV. The device was advertised to recreate sensations for all 5 senses as if living in the real world. Although he didn't fully believe the ad, he decided to try the device out of boredom and curiosity. He put on the device, drank a vial of solution that came with it according to the game manufacturer's instructions, and began logging into the virtual world. Images started to appear, and he was transported into a game world that simulated reality. When Lee Rim wore the virtual reality device, the screen displayed the character design panel before him. He chose a unique nickname, Rice, but was unsure about the appearance. So he decided to click the random button to let the system automatically generate it. Within a few seconds, the new character's appearance was complete. Rice now had a scholarly look with white hair. Immediately after, the system transported him to the starting area for new players. This place was bustling with other players trying to fight off chickens. An NPC, a computer-controlled character, appeared to guide new players like Rice. Suddenly, he realized he felt something. He could no longer hear what she was saying, because he was immersed in indescribable joy, a joy he had lost a year ago. He could smell the fragrance from the vast grassland around him. In astonishment and excitement, Rice sat down on the ground, lost in thoughts filled with questions. Could he have regained his sense of taste? He grabbed a handful of grass and stuffed it into his mouth. Chewing voraciously, the surrounding players looked at him curiously, but Rice shed tears. This time, they were tears of joy and happiness. So bitter, I can taste it. It's been so long since I tasted this bitterness, he whispered to himself, while Rice was engrossed in rediscovering his senses. A one-horned chicken suddenly charged at him, just as the chicken's beak was only a few centimeters away from Rice's face. Another character with red hair blocked it with a punch, knocking the chicken out on the spot. The red-haired guy, after defeating the chicken, turned to see the bewildered Rice and reminded him, "Hey, stop daydreaming, this place is for hunting. Are you new here?" The red-haired player was very friendly, and after chatting for a while, he left the chicken's carcass along with 2 eggs and walked away. Rice tried to call him back, but it was too late. The other player had already gone. Now, in front of him were the 2 strange eggs from the one-horned chicken. These eggs were not only larger than normal eggs but also had many small horns growing on the outside. Seeing the 2 eggs before him, Rice suddenly got the idea to cook them. He quickly set up a simple stove, used a rock as a frying pan, and started to make fried eggs. Within a few short minutes, he had completed a delicious-looking golden fried egg dish. Looking at the dish he had just prepared, Rice couldn't help but wonder if he could fully appreciate its flavors. Without further hesitation, he took a small bite with a fork and nervously brought it to his mouth. As soon as the egg touched his tongue, a wave of exhilaration spread throughout Raya's body. Joy was evident on his face as the delicious flavor of the fried egg filled his mouth. It was incredible, the taste was back. Even better than he remembered. The creamy yolk melted, spreading throughout his mouth. The joy of rediscovering the taste of food rekindled a nearly extinguished hope within him, lighting it up once more. Although he knew that everything was just an illusion in the game. For Rice, it was more than enough. For someone who had lost the ability to taste, these moments were truly blissful. As Rice was immersed in his happiness, the system suddenly announced, eating one egg gives the player 10 satiety points. He didn't realize that a girl was calling him until she approached. The girl seemed shy as she said, "Your dish looks really delicious." She then asked Rice to cook one of the one-horned chicken eggs and promised to reward him handsomely. Rice was still surprised that someone asked him to cook when the system announced, "Melina has proposed a transaction for a fried egg. Do you want to accept?" He wondered about the price. And the girl offered 501. Rice didn't bargain and happily accepted right away. He was also surprised that he could sell food even in the game. When finished cooking, the girl couldn't hide her excitement and immediately began to taste the first piece. Meanwhile, Rice stood outside, feeling tense, wondering how his dish would be received by this first customer in the game. Despite his anxiety, the girl eagerly took a big spoonful of the egg and put it in her mouth. At that moment, her expression became unpleasant, causing Rice to worry so much that he bit his lip until it bled. However, just a few seconds later, the girl's face lit up with radiance and happiness. This left Rice both astonished and unsure of what to say. She lavishly praised him. "Oh God. This is absolutely delicious. It's even better than what I've tried in real life. Your cooking is genius. It's like I'm enjoying a dish in a luxurious restaurant. The smooth egg melts in my mouth, blending the rich flavors perfectly. And it almost tastes just like real eggs." The praise from his first customer made Rice extremely happy and proud that he could satisfy someone after a year away from cooking. The girl paid Rice and bid him farewell before leaving, not forgetting to say she would come back. After the girl left, Rice returned to his thoughts once again. In this game called Real, he wondered if he could achieve his dream of cooking without facing the barriers of reality. For Lee Rim, even though this was just a virtual world, if he couldn't fulfill his wishes in real life, he at least wanted to achieve them here. Life, with its new experiences, continued to await Lee Rim as he paused the game and returned to reality. However, when he exited the virtual world and stepped into real life, he realized that although his sense of smell and taste were intact, he still couldn't taste anything. Nonetheless, the recent experience had shown him the meaning of life. He decided to interview for a part-time job at a restaurant. Yes, you heard it right. This handsome guy and the scruffy, bearded man who lost his sense of taste earlier are the same person. With such good looks, he was likely to get the job. With enthusiasm and confidence, he was hired by the owner. He would start working at the restaurant from tomorrow. The owner, thinking he was a newcomer, advised him, "Don't be late tomorrow. Try to learn and get familiar with the job. Good luck." Inside the restaurant's kitchen, there was a young man seemingly experimenting with a dish. This guy looked rather difficult and unapproachable. Saying goodbye to the owner, Lee Rim headed home. On the way, confidence returned to his face. Although he couldn't smell or taste anymore, he was now okay. He would try different methods gradually. Back in the game, he was still in the area for beginners fighting chickens. These new players, though unfamiliar with each other, helped one another and gradually started looking for members to form a team. Ignoring others who were busy hunting, Rice calmly sat there and prepared chicken meat. His technique was indeed masterful, befitting a top chef who had won numerous cooking competitions. In no time, he had butchered the chicken, dividing it into separate parts. Next, Rice searched for seasoning ingredients to marinate the meat. The more he experienced the game, the more he felt that everything in the game was even more real than in real life. After a while, Rice found some rosemary for his chicken dish. This time, he made grilled chicken skewers. With a bit of preparation, he finished making the juicy, appetizing chicken skewers. He started a fire and began grilling the chicken skewers. As the delicious aroma of grilled chicken wafted through the air, Other players in the newbie field started to notice Rice. They murmured about the strange and enticing smell. Rice was very pleased as he finished his favorite dish. A system notification popped up. Grilled chicken skewers at 15 satiety points. The tantalizing scent of grilled chicken spread everywhere, attracting more and more attention. No one could resist the alluring smell. They began approaching Rice, curious about the source of the delicious food. Meanwhile, Rice was savoring his chicken skewer with a satisfied expression on his face. The girl who had previously bought eggs from Rice also appeared. She expressed her desire to buy the fragrant grilled chicken. Rice agreed to sell them for 1500 GU per skewer and started making more to serve everyone. After tasting, they all praised the food and ate with happy expressions. Rice continued to prepare the dishes with swift and professional movements. Cooking made him feel extremely happy and satisfied. Rice realized he was gradually getting used to cooking again, regaining his old skills and sensations. The experiences forgotten over the past year were now being executed skillfully. Rice was determined to start anew in this virtual world. At this moment, the system announced, hit monsters over 1,000 times. Reward. Achievement unlocked. Received the title, Warrior. So, Rice received his first title. Additionally, he gained a useful passive skill. The skill, named Weak Point, allowed him to see and attack the weak points of monsters. A hit on the weak point had a chance to kill the monster instantly. Rice also gained an active skill called Focus Power. This skill concentrated power into a weapon to increase damage by 15%. In exchange, it consumed 30 satiety points. After receiving these new skills, Rice was very curious to test them out. He saw other players enthusiastically fighting the one-horned chickens. Until now, Rice had only wandered around picking up leftovers from others without participating in battles. So, he decided to join the hunt, though he was a bit worried due to his lack of experience. Rice approached two other players who were fighting and asked to join them. They agreed on the condition that Rice had to defeat the one-horned chicken they were attacking. The chicken charged at him, making Rice a bit scared because he didn't know what to do. When the chicken was within attack range, the Weak Point skill activated. Rice saw a glowing spot appear on the chicken's head, which was its weak point. He used Focus Power and charged, intending to deliver a decisive blow. But the chicken knocked him flying, and he fell to the ground. The other two laughed at Rice's clumsiness. He got up, realizing that fighting was not as simple as he had imagined. Rice considered giving up but then remembered his days as an apprentice chef in a restaurant. The head chef always reminded him that it took repeated practice and high concentration to become proficient. So, Rice returned, picked up a chicken horn, and charged into battle once more. At that moment, the system announced the appearance of a boss. A giant chicken appeared among the crowd. The two other players were extremely surprised by the appearance of the giant chicken boss. At first, they still wanted to fight, even though they felt something was wrong with its enormous size. As soon as they entered the boss's battle zone, they were immediately attacked by powerful horn thrusts. The boss's strength was truly terrifying. In just a moment, one of them was thrown away. At this moment, Rice also stepped in. He cautiously approached the boss from behind. The chicken continued to focus on attacking the remaining player, who could only hold up his shield to defend against the fierce attacks. When within range, the Weak Point skill activated. Rice noticed that the boss's weak point was in a rather unique location. He hesitated for a moment, then used the chicken horn to attack that weak point. But it wasn't strong enough. The knife couldn't penetrate deeply into the giant chicken. Rice's thrust not only failed to kill the boss but also enraged it, causing it to become wild and continuously launch powerful pecks at the three of them. Rice calmed himself, reminding himself that this was just a virtual game and there was no need to be afraid. Despite their best efforts, the other two were eventually defeated by the relentless giant chicken. Frustrated, one of them charged at the boss in a fit of anger, only to be impaled by its horn. Both were ultimately no match for the monstrous power of the giant chicken. Seeing his teammates vanish after being killed, Rice couldn't help but feel a surge of fear, even though he knew it was just a virtual world. On the other side, the chicken boss continued to attack the remaining player, who struggled to defend himself. Rice regained his composure and leapt into the air from behind the boss. He concentrated his power into the sharp horn and dived straight down onto the glowing weak point on its body. A precise critical hit allowed Rice to successfully defeat the boss. After his glorious victory, Rice was awarded the title, Giant One-Horned Chicken, and the automatic skill, Strongest Chicken. The remaining teammate was overjoyed, and other gamers were amazed by Raya's achievement. A pink-haired girl introduced herself as Melina and said she was a fan of Rice after reading his review of grilled chicken. Melina eagerly and sincerely wanted to collaborate with Rice to do business in the game. Rice was surprised that his post had received so much attention. Melina's main goal was to develop a business with Rice in the game. Not just to taste his grilled chicken. She earnestly asked Rice to trust and cooperate with her. At this time, the game publisher was advertising the event, 100 Billion World Reward, for the first person to defeat the Demon King in the newly released virtual reality game. The event offering a large cash prize for defeating the Demon King attracted many players to participate in this new game world. Meanwhile, in a forest corner, Rice, Melina, and their friend who fought the chicken boss were preparing a meal. Despite being refused cooperation by Rice, Melina still followed him, hoping to persuade him. On the other side, Rice was experimenting with new ingredients for his dishes. His face showed that what he was tasting was very sour. Melina curiously asked about the origin of the name Rice. He revealed that it was simply an abbreviation of Rice, because he loved cooking. This was also the first online game Rice had played. Both Melina and their friend were surprised by this. They understood why Rice rarely went hunting. But after defeating the boss and posting a food review, he became famous. Rice didn't care much about that. His goal in joining the game was to regain the sensation of cooking and satisfy his culinary passion. He was still engrossed in experimenting with new recipes. When he finished a delicious mushroom soup, Rice called the other two over to taste it. The fragrant aroma made everyone's mouth water. Then, he took out a giant chicken drumstick that was still hot even though it had been cooked for a while. Finally, Raya's chicken steak with mushroom sauce was complete. Eating this dish increased 4 satisfaction points and 1 attack point. On the plate was a golden roasted chicken drumstick with crispy skin and soft, juicy meat underneath. The mushroom sauce was poured over it, creating a glossy, shimmering layer that emitted an enticing aroma that immediately stimulated the taste buds. All three enjoyed this delicious dish. As soon as they put it in their mouths, the flavor exploded in their mouths. Its deliciousness made the diners feel like they were immersed in another world. A beautiful and enchanting world of harmonious chicken and mushroom flavors. Yes, this was the world of taste. And it was being bombarded by pieces of chicken and mushrooms. The chicken was soft and savory, not dry or burnt. The mushroom sauce seeped into the chicken, creating an indescribable wonderful flavor that made the diners want to devour every bite. After enjoying the meal, you would still taste the delicious flavors lingering in your mouth and feel truly satisfied. Returning to reality, the two were still under the spell of the delicious taste. Seeing them sitting dazed, Rice asked, "Did you like the meal?" Both of them, in a state of extreme joy, replied in unison, "It was amazing. This is the best dish I have ever tasted." Rice was surprised by their slightly exaggerated reaction when the system notification popped up again. He received another passive skill called Chef's Luck. The note stated that the probability of creating gold or superior grade dishes would increase. Once again, Rice realized that making delicious food could earn skills for his character. At this moment, Raya's stats were as follows: Health 120, Attack Power 15 plus 45, Agility 15, Defense 15, Cooking 10, Satiety 52 120ths. Finally, it was late, and it was time to say goodbye. Before leaving, their friend suggested that the three of them add each other as friends. He also guided Rice to the nearest town where he could trade essential items. After finishing their conversation, the three bid farewell and each returned to their own homes. Now, Rice was alone. He was still savoring the nighttime ambiance. Even though it was just a virtual game, it made him feel truly relaxed. He was satisfied with his current profession as a chef in the game. There was a time when he had come very far but had to stop. Now, he had the opportunity to start everything from scratch. Returning to the real world, it was nearly 4 a.m. He needed to rest for his first day at his part-time job. Before falling asleep, Rice read a few articles about Reel. There was a warning that uploading game videos to other platforms was prohibited, and violators would be permanently banned. However, storing them without uploading was allowed. Thinking this, he watched his own video. He was surprised and curious to see his in-game combat footage. Thanks to this, Rice knew what his character looked like. Suddenly, he felt proud. So, this is what my character looks like. Quite handsome. I wonder if others think the same? Absorbed in watching, Rice didn't realize he had fallen asleep. The next day, in the game, a player was using Raya's method to hunt the boss. But he didn't know that each monster had a different weak point. As a result, the boy was eaten alive by the giant chicken. In a corner of the chicken hunting map, Melina was selling grilled chicken skewers and fried eggs. But the players who came to eat were not very satisfied because it wasn't as delicious as Raya's. Moreover, it was undercooked. To salvage the situation, she gave away free skewers. Even though she couldn't cook as well as Rice, Melina didn't give up. She continued to enthusiastically sell grilled chicken and fried eggs. The system notification popped up. Continuous advertising for 5 hours has granted the skill, Megaphone F. Increase in size by 10% and an additional 1% because you have been yelling for 5 hours straight without a speaker. With a speaker, you could disturb the whole neighborhood all day long. Receiving this skill made Melina even more excited, and her advertising voice rang out incessantly, causing headaches for players who couldn't stand it and had to come and buy her goods. Meanwhile, in the real world, Lee Rim was starting his part-time job. His job was to assist in the kitchen by preparing ingredients. Seeing Lee Rim's knife skills, the owner was quite astonished. The head chef, however, seemed annoyed and said, "Hey, this isn't a competition. Who are you showing off to? Why are you cutting so fast? How can you cut evenly at that speed?" Despite the head chef's irritation, Lee Rim remained calm. "Am I bothering you? I'm sorry." But when the head chef looked at the slices of onion, he was taken aback. This guy's cuts are pretty neat. Unwilling to acknowledge Lee Rim's talent, he ordered him to fry an egg for bibimbap. Fry the egg sunny side up without breaking the yolk. At least you should be able to do that, right? Explained. Bibimbap, sometimes romanized as bibimbap or bibimbap, is a Korean rice dish. The term bibi means mixing, and bap refers to cooked rice. It is served as a bowl of warm white rice topped with namul, sautéed or blanched seasoned vegetables, and gochujang, chili pepper paste. Egg and sliced meat, usually beef, are common additions, which are thoroughly stirred together just before eating. In South Korea, Jeonju, Jinju, and Tongyang are especially famous for their versions of bibimbap. In 2017, the dish was listed at number 40 on the world's 50 most delicious foods readers poll compiled by CNN Travel. Bibimbap was first mentioned in Sewijaseo, an anonymous 19th century cookbook. Some scholars assert that bibimbap originated from the practice of mixing various food items used in ancestral rituals, jesa. In Korean households, bibimbap is a common dish made from rice, vegetables, and meat. Since the 20th century, bibimbap has become popular in several other countries due to the convenience of preparation. It is also served on many airlines flying to South Korea. The vegetables commonly used in bibimbap include cucumber, zucchini, mu, radish, julienne mushrooms, jiraji, bellflower root, and seaweed, as well as spinach, soybean sprouts, and gosari, bracken fern stems. Dubu, tofu, can be added or sautéed, and additional ingredients such as lettuce or chicken or seafood can replace beef. For an aesthetically pleasing presentation, vegetables of similar colors are often placed next to each other to complement one another. The exact recipe can be quite long and complex, so I won't include it here. You can find a suitable recipe on Google. Okay, back to our story. Lee Rim began frying the egg. At this moment, he couldn't smell or taste, so he had to rely solely on his technique and experience. He recalled his experiences in the game and the praises from people who enjoyed his food. Finally, the perfect bibimbap was ready. When served to the diners, they immediately noticed something different about the dish. At first, it was just the sensation of tasting the yolk of the fried egg. And one of them exclaimed, "Oh my god! This is delicious! What is this amazing taste? Have you tried the bibimbap? It's really delicious." The bibimbap here has never been this good. This fried egg is simply wonderful. Today's lunch exceeded my expectations. In the kitchen, Lee Rim was still listening to the diner's praises. And the egg white is so tender. It's amazing. Manager, look at this. The yolk flows so beautifully. This restaurant is sure to thrive for a long time. The sincere compliments from the customers made Lee Rim smile happily. He thought to himself, even though I've lost my sense of taste, my experience is still intact. Even if I can only taste food in the game, I believe I can start over in real life. I will rely on my skills and experience to continue pursuing my passion with all my might. It was nearly 3 p.m. and Lee Rim's first day at work after a year had gone well. Although he wasn't yet accustomed to the job, he hadn't made any mistakes. After cleaning up, he said goodbye to the owner and was about to leave with his bag when a cheerful and witty waitress ran up to him. From now on, we'll be working together. You have to say goodbye to me too. I'll call you Oppa, okay? You did great today. I can't believe it was your first day at work. Have a safe trip home. See you tomorrow. Lee Rim also felt happy and carefree thanks to the girl's cheerful demeanor. He happily said goodbye to everyone and headed home. The owner couldn't stop praising Lee Rim, but the head chef still felt uneasy about the new kitchen assistant. That evening, diners continued to order bibimbap, but no one praised it like they had at lunch, making the owner feel puzzled. He suddenly remembered that all the bibimbap dishes made by Lee Rim had received enthusiastic compliments from the customers. Since Rice left, the compliments had disappeared. He thought that Lee Rim might have some secret family recipe for this dish. When he got home, Lee Rim immediately started trying to recreate the dishes he had made in the game. In no time, fried eggs, grilled chicken skewers, and sautéed mushrooms with cucumbers were ready. Looking incredibly appetizing, he sat at the table, took a bite, and tried to recall the flavors of these dishes. But in reality, it was still very difficult. Everything remained tasteless. Lee Rim encouraged himself not to be disappointed and not to give up. Being able to taste and cook in the game was already a miracle. With an optimistic mindset, he continued to eat slowly, recalling the flavors and happiness he had experienced in the game. Although he couldn't taste anything, he finished all the food. Yes, he needed to eat like this to have the energy to play the game and cook. Haha, for the first time since losing his sense of taste, he was able to fully enjoy a meal he had cooked himself. After feeling full, Lee Rim took a mandatory support potion and returned to continue his quest to rediscover his sense of taste in the game. Back in the world of real, Rice roamed the dense, shadowy forest, his eyes scanning the surroundings. Today was the day he'd venture into something more ambitious. For too long, he had only prepared light meals, cooking simple dishes that barely satisfied his growing hunger for experimentation. But today, something gnawed at him, a need to create, to push his culinary limits. He'd hunt, and whatever he found, he would turn into a dish that would surprise even himself. As he pondered what kind of meal he could create, a rustling in the underbrush caught his attention. From the dense thicket emerged a pack of lizards, their scales glistening under the dappled sunlight that filtered through the canopy. Their beady eyes locked onto Rice. Sensing danger, a grin spread across his face. Lizard meat, huh? He mused. This might make for an interesting dish. Without a moment's hesitation, Rice lunged at the creatures, drawing from his inventory the horn of the chicken boss he'd defeated weeks ago. This weapon, unassuming in appearance, held untold power. His attack power surged with every swing, and with a swift, precise strike, he felled one of the lizards in an instant. Oops, he chuckled to himself, observing the lifeless creature. If I hit them too hard, the meat might get ruined. I'd better tone it down. He moved fluidly through the pack, calculating his strikes to ensure the meat remained intact. But as the battle raged on, his mind drifted back to his true goal, the perfect dish. In his head, he imagined the sizzling of the lizard meat over an open flame, seasoned just right to bring out its tender flavor. His stomach growled at the thought. Meanwhile, in the distance, a group of players observed Raya's peculiar actions. Among them was a blonde-haired player, his brow furrowed in confusion. Why the hell is he hunting lizards? Doesn't he know spider silk fetches a high price? He muttered under his breath, eyeing Rice with envy. What a waste of time. But Rice wasn't concerned with profit. Spiders were not his thing. Too many legs and too creepy for his liking. He focused solely on the lizards, their cold bodies soon piling up at his feet. After a while, satisfied with his haul, he paused. Among the fallen creatures, he noticed a few small, gleaming purple stones scattered on the ground. He bent down, inspecting them, attack and defense stones. No doubt valuable, but he hadn't the faintest idea how to use them yet. Into his inventory they went. Just as he was about to pack up, an eerie, spine-chilling presence appeared behind him. A shadow loomed over him, and the system chimed in with a notification. Achievement unlocked. So this person is an ally. Achievement condition. In the spider forest. Defeat only lizards, ignoring the red spiders. Reward. Potential secret mission from the Spider Queen. Raya's brow furrowed. He hadn't been paying attention to the system notifications. Before he could process what the achievement meant, a monstrous creature emerged from the trees, a giant purple spider. Its many eyes glittered with an unsettling intelligence. And to Raya's shock, it spoke in a low, echoing voice. You there, in the name of the queen of this forest. I have a request. Will you listen? A massive question mark floated above its head. Raya's instincts kicked in. This had to be a quest, a secret one. From the looks of it, he had heard that quests like these were rare, only triggered by specific actions. Unsure of how to respond, he stood still, waiting for some sort of prompt from the system. The spider's many eyes narrowed in suspicion. Are you just going to stand there? Are you an ally of ours or not? Rice, new to the game, was at a loss. He could feel eyes on him. Other players watching his every move, no doubt curious about the massive spider. One particularly nosy player began to approach. Weapon drawn, clearly planning to attack the creature. Before he could even swing, the Spider Queen reacted swiftly, kicking him across the clearing with brutal force. The unfortunate player hit the ground hard. And from his inventory, a pair of lizard skin shoes, reinforced with spider silk, tumbled out. Surprised, Rice picked them up, tried them on, and nodded in approval. These fit pretty well. Unbeknownst to him, looting another player's item was typically frowned upon. But in his naivety, he thought he'd return the shoes later if they crossed paths again. The Spider Queen spoke again, her patience waning. For the last time, are you an ally? Rice, realizing he needed to give an answer, quickly nodded. Yes, I am. Satisfied, the Spider Queen began her tale. This forest was once a sanctuary, a place of peace, ruled under the watchful eyes of the red spiders. But then, the lizard horde arrived, led by their vicious queen. They took our territory, slaughtered our kind, and have been slowly devouring the forest. We are few now, on the brink of extinction. Her voice grew dark, filled with ancient hatred. I ask this of you, outsider. Eliminate the lizard queen. Bring balance back to the forest. And in return, you will receive not only our gratitude but a power few have ever wielded. Raya's eyes lit up at the prospect of a new skill and the promise of a secret achievement. I'll do it, he said, determination filling his voice. The Spider Queen regarded him with a long, unreadable gaze before nodding. The Lizard Queen hides deep within the swamps. Find her and rid this forest of her tyranny. And just like that, she vanished into the shadows, leaving Rice alone with his thoughts, and his grumbling stomach. His eyes fell on the pile of lizards he had slain. With a hungry grin, he set to work, preparing skewers over a fire. Grilled lizard skewers, he murmured, simple, but with the right seasoning. It might just be perfect. As the skewers sizzled, filling the air with the mouth-watering aroma of cooking meat, Rice couldn't help but chuckle to himself. I've never been one for spiders. But maybe they aren't so bad after all. While grilling the meat, a system notification appeared, announcing the activation of the passive skill, Chef's Luck. It granted a slim chance of receiving a temporary power boost whenever a particularly delicious dish was created. Rice quickly realized this was a skill earned from countless hours spent cooking. This only fueled his passion further, his eagerness to experiment with food growing by the minute. The lizard skewers sizzled, now perfectly grilled. Eating one granted 20 fullness points and a bonus of 1 defense point. A simple dish, yet brimming with potential. As Rice considered the implications, he realized something crucial. Every dish he prepared increased his character's stats. If he continued to cook and eat meals of exceptional quality, it seemed that, Eventually, he could become nearly invincible. Without overthinking it, Rice grabbed a grilled lizard skewer and took a hearty bite. The moment the meat touched his tongue, an explosion of flavor engulfed his senses. It was unlike anything he had ever tasted. The lizard meat had a crispy, chewy texture, somewhat reminiscent of chicken, yet more distinct and robust. It was a blend of chicken's tenderness and frog meat's chewiness. The taste was so remarkable that Rice found himself tearing up. "Yes," he whispered to himself, savoring each bite. "This is exactly what I was looking for." When he finished, his character's stats reflected the reward: 2 defense points and 5 endurance points. Raya's ambitions surged. If he continued cooking and eating like this, his strength would grow exponentially. Feeling full and satisfied, Rice shifted his focus to his mission. He headed towards the lair of the lizard horde, intent on attracting their leader. His stats, now significantly boosted from his recent meals, combined with the mighty horn he had taken from the giant rooster boss, allowed him to dispatch the minion lizards with ease. With each swing of the horn, clusters of lizards fell. Despite his victories, their numbers seemed unending, but as he fought on, something unexpected happened. The lizards regrouped, launching a coordinated counterattack. Rice hadn't anticipated such cleverness from mere minions. Although he hadn't planned on hunting so aggressively, there was no turning back now. He pressed on, striking down the giant lizards with every bit of strength he had. When the last lizard fell, Rice allowed himself a moment of satisfaction. He was getting better at hunting. And more importantly, the idea of gathering ingredients for his next dish excited him. Unbeknownst to him, a blonde girl watched from the shadows. From her tone and demeanor, it was clear she knew exactly who Rice was. Her lips curled into a smile as she muttered, "You're doing well, chef. I'm looking forward to what's next." The prolonged battle had left Rice famished once more. Thankfully, he had enough food in his inventory to replenish his energy. The more he ate, the more addictive the lizard meat became. His gaze, now sharp with hunger, turned towards the approaching horde of lizards. In a swift series of strikes, he dispatched the entire group. While resting, a strange red spider approached, dropping a silk bundle as an offering. Rice, puzzled but intrigued, accepted the gift and stored it in his bag. He had no idea what it could be used for, but after another long fight, he was hungry again, so he focused on preparing yet another meal of lizard meat. His successful extermination of the lizard group had also earned him valuable rewards: magic stones, rare items, and new titles. Lizard Eliminator appeared as he crossed the threshold of 20 kills, followed by Voracious Eater for consuming over 100 of the same dish. Even his combat skills had improved. His weak point skill now granted a 25% increase in damage for weak spot attacks. Just as he finished eating, the young man from earlier, the one who had been kicked by the Spider Queen, returned. Rice instantly recognized him and assumed he had come to retrieve his shoes. But the man's expression was one of frustration. Those shoes were a unique item. He groaned. "Once someone puts them on, they can't be taken back. I'll need to hunt more lizards to make another pair." Before he could leave in disappointment, Rice called after him, "Hey, wait, what do you need? I've got some materials." Reaching into his inventory, Rice offered a pile of lizard skins and the spider silk bundle. The man's eyes widened at the sight of the silk. "What in the world? Do you even know what this is?" "That's the finest spider silk." Rice hadn't realized its value. Without hesitation, the man took the silk and sat down, preparing to craft something on the spot. His name was Aeter, a skilled crafter in the game. Pulling out a needle, he deftly threaded the silk and began to sew with precision and skill. Curious, Aeter glanced at Rice. "You're on the Lizard Queen mission, right?" "Yes, but I'm mostly here to explore the taste of lizard meat. Honestly, my goal is just to find good food." Meanwhile, Aeter worked tirelessly, his hands a blur of motion. Seeing such exceptional skill, Raya's instincts flared up, feeling he couldn't be outdone by his new friend. Without hesitation, he pulled out the freshly hunted ingredients and began prepping them with lightning speed and precision. Beside him, Aeter was equally determined. These two were truly masters of their respective crafts. Nearby players gathered to watch the two of them, one focused on crafting, the other on cooking, each in their own world of expertise. After a while, Aeter finished his work, 2 pairs of finely crafted shoes and a net. The shoes, made from premium materials, had impressive stats, boosting agility by 10, strength by 5, and defense by 5. He handed the net to Rice as a thank you gift. The net had a special ability to stun monsters under 2 stars for 10 seconds. Thrilled with the new gear, Rice knew it would serve him well in future hunts. Aetor, satisfied with his work, bid farewell and logged out of the game. And just like that, the culinary genius had made another new friend. After parting ways with his new acquaintance, Rice continued his quest to find the Lizard Queen. He eventually located her in a secluded corner of the forest. Sleeping soundly, this queen was unlike the others he had encountered. She was larger, her scales shimmering with a flame-like hue that ran along her body, approaching carefully. Rice moved with caution, but she stirred instantly, growling in warning. Suddenly, 2 massive lizards, larger than any he had faced before, leapt out of the shadows and launched a surprise attack, but Rice stood his ground. Perhaps the long battles with the lesser lizards had toughened him, sharpened his instincts, and strengthened his resolve. With improved stats from the delicious meals he had consumed, Rice was now a formidable opponent. With a confident smirk, he swung his weapon, landing a solid hit, but to his surprise, the lizard didn't fall. These creatures were on a completely different level than the ones he had previously defeated. Though they weren't boss monsters, their strength was undeniable as they attacked relentlessly. Rice felt himself growing even stronger. Fueled by the intensity of the fight, one lizard swung its powerful tail, slamming Rice into a nearby rock wall with a crushing force. Winning this battle, he realized, would not be easy. In that moment of peril, a thought crossed Raya's mind. These creatures were just ingredients for his next dish. With his spirit revived, he pulled out a few magic stones from his bag and used them. His power surged instantly. With newfound energy, he re-engaged the fight. After an intense battle, Rice finally managed to slay the 2 lizards guarding the queen, but just as he thought it was over, the queen stirred. Her eyes glowed with a fierce, vengeful intent. Standing tall, she let out a deafening roar. And to Raya's horror, the bodies of the fallen lizards began to peel and crack open. Revealing pale, revived forms, they attacked once more. After an exhausting 1-on-3 battle, Rice managed to bring down the 2 minions for good, but his own condition was dire. His health was hanging by a thread. And the queen had entered a frenzied state, her rage boiling over. Amid the chaos, Rice remembered the net woven by Aetor, seizing a brief opening as the queen's minions charged at him. He threw the net, entangling her tightly. He focused all his remaining strength into his weapon, aiming for the queen's head. But even the critical strike wasn't enough. The queen retaliated, sending Rice flying once more, leaving him with barely any health. However, the net had done its job, immobilizing her for 10 crucial seconds. In that brief moment, luck favored Rice as night fell. The skill, Strongest Chicken, was activated, granting him a 15-point attack boost, a much-needed buff at the perfect time. Gathering his last ounce of strength, he picked up his weapon, his eyes burning with determination. With a final, desperate attack, he struck the Lizard Queen squarely on the head. This time, luck was on his side. The Lizard Queen fell, defeated at last. Immediately after, Rice was rewarded with a new passive skill, Lizard's Strength, which allowed him to climb up to 20 meters. Unbeknownst to Rice, his accomplishment had been witnessed by other players from the beginning. They were in awe of his abilities, having always thought of him as just a talented cook. Just as he was about to haul the queen's body to report back to the Spider Queen, she appeared behind him. No need to search. I'm already here. The Lizard Queen is dead, and their forces are weakened, she said, her voice echoing through the clearing. As a reward for his efforts, the Spider Queen ordered her brood to drive away the remaining lizards and bestowed upon Rice valuable rewards, an increase of 10 points in all stats, the F-rank Poison Pouch skill, and the new profession of Vanguard. Oh my god, that's amazing, Rice. How did you manage to defeat such a monster all by yourself? The other players showered him with praise, leaving Rice slightly bashful, but their primary interest, as always, lay in his cooking. To celebrate the victory, Rice generously offered a 50% discount on all items. The eatery was quickly set up, and before long, the crowd grew, with people jostling for a taste of his renowned dishes. It wasn't long before the line became chaotic. And managing both the cooking and selling alone left Rice exhausted. As he wiped the sweat from his brow, a small hand handed him a towel. It was Melina. She had tracked him down using the friend search feature and had come to congratulate him on completing the mission. Congratulations, Rice. You did great. Let me help you with the sales. Taking a deep breath, Melina shouted, "Everyone, please line up." Her voice, amplified by a skill, cut through the noise, and the rowdy customers quickly fell into place. Thanks to her help, all the lizard meat was sold out, except for one piece that Rice had set aside for Melina. Just then, a customer approached, wanting to buy that very piece of meat. However, since it was reserved for Melina, Rice politely declined, but the man persisted. Before he could argue further, Melina grabbed the piece of meat, skewered it, and began eating it. Despite its heat, not wanting the man to leave empty-handed, Rice offered him the last skewer of chicken instead. Smiling outwardly, but clearly plotting something, the man took the skewer. It turned out he was a chef himself. And today, he had come to see if the rumors about Raya's cooking were true. At first, he was dismissive, but after taking a bite, his expression changed entirely. The flavor of the grilled chicken burst in his mouth. And he couldn't help but shout, "What? How can something taste this good? Amazing. The flavors are exploding in my mouth." Completely blown away, his face showed pure surprise and satisfaction.